couldn't. Now it's maybe you might.
EduTech Guys Radio. Radio.edutechguys.com.
The opinions expressed under the site and its programs are those of the participants and not intended to and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any specific educational entity, sponsor, company, state, or government agency.
Hello and welcome to this episode of EduTech Guys Radio, brought to you by Southwest Arkansas Education Cooperative and Hope Public Schools, both located in Hope, Arkansas. I am David Henderson.
I'm Jeff Madlock.
And I'm Greg Moore.
Woo!
We actually got that one out nice and smooth that time.
We're getting there.
All right.
We're
Only
getting there.
18
Check this
episodes.
out. We've got a packed show for you listeners today. We're going to be talking about TeacherCal, EduCal, and some of the other Google Classroom-based apps from EduSync. Also, the DLPA annual contest called GIF It Up. I don't know how do you...
Jive it up. Yeah. Yes.
We're also talking about...
I thought it was pronounced Rob.
Rob.
Yes. The G, I, and F are all silent.
It's Rob.
My name's Rob. It's spelled G-I-F.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
We're going to also be talking about the Jamf Nation User Conference, JNUC. Just a little bit. Coming up next week. And then we'll have a quick update on the Rave Panic Button app that they've rolled out in Arkansas and other places. And then we're going to spend the bulk of the show talking about Microsoft's latest product launch. So, folks out there, grab your favorite beverage and a snack, and we're going to get rolling.
I'm excited.
He's excited.
Why are you holding your ears like that?
I have on a different set of headphones today. And
He can't hear anything.
I hear you.
Oh,
and
you hear-
this,
I hear- I
And
got
it sounds
you.
like you're talk.
I am. That's a Halloween show. We need to have the Halloween show.
The Who?
We
No,
can
no.
have the Who. You think they'd come on the show?
I don't think so. Maybe
Most
Doctor
of them are
Who.
dead, aren't they? I have no idea. And if you're
Watching us.
watching,
The Periscope.
if you're listening with your eyes,
Yes.
on Periscope, EduTech Guys, be sure to jump over to Periscope. Check us out, EduTech Guys. You're listening to radio.edutechguys.com. You can hop over to edutechguys.com and scroll to the bottom there. Fill out the form. Let us know what you want to hear, what you want to say, whatever, anything.
All
Go
those
for it.
things.
You can tweet to us. We'll be following the Twitter, as Jeff likes
You're
to
doing
say.
my- you're doing
I
my
am doing your
shtick.
shtick. I'm taking over the show.
Oh,
man.
no. Can't
My
be doing
stick.
none of this.
I'm leaving.
Okay, now then.
All right, now that Jeff's gone, here's what we're really going to do
Yeah,
today.
thanks. That worked.
Anyway, on Twitter, at EduTechGuys.
Yeah, and at the Periscope, give me some hearts.
Hearts.
Show me the love. So someone's going to ask you guys when I got here, and I forgot what it was.
You stood up, and it changed your perspective,
I can no
and
longer-
it left your head.
Changed
It
my
went away.
perspective. My perspiration.
Yes.
Stood up and it fell out of your brain.
Yep.
Oh, what?
So yeah, hey,
that
don't
happens to
forget
me all the time.
to go to www.edutechguys.com. Go to the bottom of the page. You'll see a place to make a comment. Let us know what you think of the show. Any topics you'd like us to cover. Next week, we will be at JNUC, the Jamf Nation
JNUC.
Users Conference in Minneapolis, coming to you live from the 9th floor. Hopefully, if there's room up there for us. We'll find a place. If not, we're coming to you live from how do you say that theater name?
The Guthrie
Guthrie?
Theater?
Guthrie Theater
Guthrie.
in Minneapolis.
Guthrie.
in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
So
Yeah.
be sure to tune in. We'll have lots of folks coming by. If you're listening to the show today, we're not this crazy usually. Yeah, we are. So, but we'll be talking all about the JNUC and Jamf and all the good stuff that they do, and it'll be pretty cool. So we want to drop by. We'll have lots of folks that are dropping by. There is a mini event. If you'll check out the website, go to the mini event section for that. You'll see we have a mini event there. You can go ahead and check and say, hey, I'm going to be there. And it just makes us more excited that there's more names down there that are going to show up and maybe talk to us
Plus,
about
we can
their
stalk
setup.
you all over the internet and actually ask you questions about your personal life. No, I mean your professional life.
That's right.
That's
right.
Greg. He does all that stuff. I don't do that.
Why do you,
next week at Jamf Conference in Minneapolis. We'll be there all week. And we'll be actually periscoping everything we do. Greg and I decided. We didn't tell David that yet, but now he knows. We're going to periscope.
Not everything.
Well, almost everything. So, yeah, nobody wants that. You don't want to see David eat. It's terrible.
Oh,
Bazinga.
ouch.
So yeah, let's jump into this bad boy. So what do you think about? So let's save EduSync and EduCal for the last. That'll be our Google. That's our Google tip for the day because it actually is a piece of Google. It uses Google Cal and Google Classroom.
Piece of Google.
So, but we can jump into the DPLA GIF It Up. That's David's deal. So I'm going to turn it over to David.
Yeah, actually, that was submitted to us from one of our listeners, Mark Aubrey. You can follow him. You can stalk him online on Twitter at MD Aubrey, AUBREY. And he tweeted this out to us and said that he thought we might be interested in checking it out. And so it is at dp.la, and they have an annual contest called GIF It Up. And the premise is that you go out and you find public domain images, and then you create animated GIFs out of the static image. And then there's a big contest, and I don't remember what you win, if you win, but
the best GIF on the internet.
You get the little badge that you can put on your GIF.
Yes, it has to be animated. It's got to be sparkling.
That's right, sparkling. And what have you. So I'll tweet out the direct link to the DLPA contest. And actually, Mark created one from an old photo of probably circa 1800 something, a guy sliding into a base, and so he animated it to where the guy actually, well, not only slides into the base, but then slides completely off the image
into the distance. Into the distance.
He had quite a bit of momentum sliding into the base. But so you want to check that out. The DPLA. I think I got the letters backwards a minute ago. DPLA.
And what does DPLA stand for?
I
miss it?
I know the answer to this. And you didn't miss it. I did not say what it was.
Because he was trying to avoid
displaying
his ignorance on air, and I pointed it out.
As they often do.
Darn it.
The Digital Public Library of America.
The Digital Public Library of America.
DPLA.
The old DPLA.
The GIF It Up. And that actually, the contest actually starts next week. It starts October 12th, runs through November 21st. So lots of time to download some images and make them animated.
Find a pirated version of get a legitimate copy of Photoshop.
So I'd like to throw out while they're talking about that. There is a great app that Greg and I both use. It's called Work. What's the one that makes?
Just Van it. Give me
Workflow. Sorry.
Yes.
Workflow is a great little app for the iPad that lets you create workflows.
Yeah.
One of my favorite ones. The actual tutorial is creating
an animated GIF.
Yeah. So an animated GIF. So if you want to take a look at that app, I highly recommend it. The things that it does, wow. It does lots of stuff. But you could do your first animated GIF right there and start taking a look at making some GIFs animated.
Yep.
With Workflow, great app.
Yeah, it's all automated. It makes little automated widgets. It's kind of like Automator on OS 10 if you've ever played with that.
Cool. Sounds good. Yeah, so I think that'll be cool. Appreciate Mark for shouting that out to us. Very cool. What do you want to jump into next? Let's get rave out of the way.
Glow sticks everywhere. Oh, not that rave? Okay.
What is he doing? It's crazy here. You're not going to believe what's happening.
No.
Homestar Runner out there, you knew what that noise was if you've ever seen any Homestar Runner.
We're going to have to indoctrinate you after the show.
Today, it's really funny. It's like we had a lot of caffeine before we came on the show today, but it has been a good day.
I don't know what you're
stuff
talking
is very
about.
interesting, and something interesting happened at lunch is that Greg and I became pro-Microsoft, where David became anti-Microsoft.
It was very odd.
It was very odd. That's usually not how it plays out. But hey, that's a great segue into Microsoft.
We went from talking about the new Rave stuff to Microsoft
we just
without talking about the new Rave stuff.
I don't want to talk about the new Rave stuff. All right. We'll talk about the new Rave stuff after the Microsoft.
You can press and hold to prevent accidental activation on the new Rave app.
It's pretty interesting. Rave just has to do with people that are watching in the state of Arkansas, listening from the state of Arkansas.
Well, no, they actually sell the app. I mean, not sell the app. They sell the service all across the country.
Wow, that's very disheartening to know that other people would actually buy it.
Oh.
Yeah, I said that on
The
the
views expressed on this show are not
That's
necessarily.
right. They say that
We do. We say
the views are just my views. That's not the views of the state of Arkansas or my district.
We just need to put that on a loop in the background at a very low level to the whole show.
Anytime we're not talking,
We
it's
just
got
press the button.
disclaimer.
Hey, thanks for listening.
So,
I'm kidding.
No,
I
he's
just
playing.
I played the intro again. As the outro.
nice. All right, so we'll get back to Rave. Let's jump into the Microsoft stuff.
Jump into Microsoft stuff.
Where do we want to start?
I don't know. We got a list there. So yeah, yesterday Microsoft had a hardware launch, which is really different from Microsoft. Microsoft doesn't do hardware launches.
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
Until
This one
just
looked-
past couple of
Did you
years.
watch it?
I did watch it. I looked at pictures of it in the live blog, and it looks a lot like an Apple hardware.
It does
launch.
look like an Apple launch. You could tell it was really the first time they had done.
Oh, they have some problems.
It was a little
rough.
It was a little rough. There were some, canned aspects of it that made it look very,
Oh, really?
very high school acting-ish.
Ouch.
Well, Microsoft's
It's all
they've
right.
not done a lot of those, so this is new for them.
We'll forgive them.
And heck, even the quote unquote masters. I mean, the last Apple live event.
that's true.
It had some
Yeah,
elements
that's a
where we
good
were
point.
scratching our heads and going, "What were they thinking there?"
That's a good point. That's
So
a good point.
doing stuff live is hard, as we know firsthand. we can
Yeah,
cut
have
them some
zero
slack.
room to talk about.
Yes, exactly. We can cut them some slack
Yes, we have zero room to talk about professional quality
on live.
in your hair.
I got something in my hair.
There you go. I don't know.
Piece of fuzz.
Everybody on the radio was really bothered by that. They were all
Well,
going,
it
"You got
was-
something in your hair."
It was a black piece of fuzz. It looked like Dave probably thought it was a
Right,
spider.
to all of our listeners, check
He-
your hair.
David knows me. Had it been a spider, I would have trashed this whole thing.
That would have been awesome on air.
That would have. All right. So, do you want to start with? Well, do you want to start with software for the hardware launch? Just the fact that they touted that Windows 10 has supposedly been downloaded and installed on 110 million devices just since it came out. So
Really?
I mean, frankly, that's pretty impressive given that the most of the buzz that you hear is anti-installing Windows 10, and yet there's supposedly 110 million people who took the leap of faith and said, "Let me jump in here."
And I really think it's who you kind of hang out with, whether you're anti-Windows 10 or I've actually heard a lot of good things about Windows 10 from the people that I hang out. Well, aside from the guys who are Linux,
Well, yeah, but,
exactly. The hood wearing, chanting. I say that as the one Mac guy in my group of friends, so I'm equally, I drink the Kool-Aid just as hard.
That's right.
So.
That's right. Yours is white robe with silver lining.
Yes,
That's
it is
what
very
that's-
clean, pressed.
yes,
It's
that's
got
right.
the creased lines.
That's your Mac robe,
Exactly.
the eye robe.
It's very hard to get those issued. You got it. We won't even go into the whole ritual involved there.
No, let's not. So, skipping ahead, what else do you want to talk about? We've got. Let's talk about the band. I think Microsoft Band. That's a pretty easy discussion. Nothing.
Is it drums and bugles?
It is.
And
Ba, 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 ba.
I think it's a great. They were into this. The band's been around for a while. They've been pushing it for some time. It's
Yeah, I think it's technically the band. Is this Band 2?
Band 34.
I think this is the second release of the
I
band.
think so.
It's at the very least the second release.
I think it's called Band 2. I think.
Anyway.
Yeah, I think
Band
it's neat. I did notice though in that it is compatible across the board with iOS, Android, and Lumia or whatever.
The Windows Phone.
The Lumina, the Chevy Lumina. That was my bad.
I tried pairing it with my car and it wouldn't do it.
Hey, that's a nice Chevy Lumina phone you got
No.
there. Seats 8. It's great gas mileage.
The XL must be the station wagon.
The
Oh.
Lumina station wagon.
I'm that old.
Oh.
No, but they did their band. They did the Lumia to phones. The phone. That's
That's what we were talking about over lunch.
They're not the 7 Lumia phone users that they currently have.
Ouch.
That was me. But people that use the phone probably love it. And now it can be a computer on the road if you have 17 dongles and a box and a keyboard and a mouse with you. At that point, this what's funny is well, don't worry about me taking a laptop on the road or even a Surface Book or Surface Pro. I'm just going to carry my phone, and a keyboard and a mouse and
the
this box
adapter
and the cables and the HDMI cable and a power strip to plug it all in and plug
and what are you going to plug into?
And I got to call
like a television.
Well, that's it. I got to call ahead to the hotel. Does my TV have an HDMI port that's open? I can get to that I can plug into to run my phone as a computer.
Yeah.
At that point, it's might as well just go ahead and take a machine with you and get the phone.
Plus, people, we were talking about how some people say, "Oh no, you can't compare," the what were you saying that the
No, I said it was. I said so. Basically, it's an Apple TV that you're tethered to.
Right, exactly, because it's mirroring it to a television at that point. But then the naysayers, no, you can't compare it because it's actually Windows. It's real Windows as opposed to iOS. And we were talking about how it's quote unquote real Windows, but it's Windows on an ARM processor. So most of the apps that you run on Windows aren't going to run on the phone because even though it's the same version of Windows, it's on an ARM processor. The applications have to be recompiled for a different processor, and that I haven't gone real in depth looking at how many of those applications are out there, but I'm assuming it's not fairly high.
My understanding is that the demo they did, and I did not watch the demo of the phone. I just
we had a hard time convincing ourselves that it was worth it.
Anyway, so
yes.
And I don't even know what they call that box. I don't know what they call the box. Oh yes, crud! I did know.
You did know.
I did.
And now you don't.
Now I can't remember what they called it.
Box.
Anyway, the box has a name. Odyssey
George.
or
it's a little box that connected
Colossal
everything, wasn't
or
it?
Disaster or something. And so
Disaster.
So anyway, the I have no idea where I was going.
Well, that's okay. We'll jump ahead.
Anyway,
that train.
So,
I don't. Yeah.
So the phone. It's a phone.
Yeah.
HoloLens.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I do remember now, and it is important to me. So I'm going to talk about it. No, but supposedly the only two things they showed with the phone tethered to the box, tethered to the TV, tethered to the power outlet, was they showed multimedia, so you could watch videos and movies.
Okay.
And they had Office.
Office.
So that's what you're going to haul all this stuff so that you can use your phone to watch movies and do Office on TV.
To the business people, Office is important. So, I mean, if you're on the road,
it is,
you need
but
Office.
I mean, again, you're hooking up a phone to a box to a TV to the
right.
A lot of stuff to carry with you.
Let me bring my laptop or my whatever they're calling
Surface
it.
Pro, iPad,
exactly.
whatever.
Yeah,
something.
Let me bring my laptop first device.
Yes. Yes.
The 2007 Dell Latitude. HoloLens. I don't know anything about HoloLens.
All right, now HoloLens. I did watch the demo for that. I would say, out of everything that Microsoft had to say yesterday, for me, HoloLens they could have started with that, dropped the mic, and walked off the stage and said, "We're done."
David was impressed by the HoloLens.
Because you're a gamer.
It is because I'm a gamer. You're right. So HoloLens virtual reality is very similar to other virtual reality
VR,
devices, right? You've seen Oculus Rift, and now Steam has a VR, and there's all kinds of other
Google
stuff.
Cardboard. And
Yeah, to an extent. All right. So what with Microsoft's, they actually have extended the VR into the real world.
Right.
Okay, so it's a blended environment.
What
so
do they
the
call
demo,
it? Overlay VR or something like that?
Yes, they overlay the VR into the real world. So the demo that they showed, there's a guy on stage, and he's got the equipment on, and then there's another guy with a camera, and he is basically mirroring the screen of what the VR is going to look like.
Right.
So this guy is playing in this this mock living room.
Right.
And their creatures come breaking out of the walls that are actually in
the real
room.
walls.
And what I thought was cool, and as they talked about it, the creatures on the screen, the guy was being attacked by robots, these little creepy crawly, very similar to
Bug-like
the Matrix
or whatever.
type.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So, but as they're coming out of the walls, they use the environment to their advantage. So, like, it looked like they actually crawled down and across the couch.
Right.
Or some of them actually hid behind the couch and came out from under the couch to attack them. I mean, it was phenomenal. But that isn't even the coolest part. The coolest part was that they can extend the VR into wearables.
Right.
So he had a stick in his hand or some kind of controller.
Right.
And when he held the controller up, the VR
did an overlay
of
his
this
hand,
really cool weapon
Right.
that he could then use his hand to fire and punch and Oh my gosh.
We're living in the future.
It is very cool. I have to say.
I don't know I don't know where the jetpack and flying car things went wrong, but aside from that,
Well, do they have a game where I'm in a Subway with a Subway in my hand and a drink in the other, and I'm virtually eating them?
It's coming very close, very close. In fact, I read a review of Steam VR the other day, and that is exactly what they were talking about. Really? Whatever demo they were playing, it was food. They had to reach out and grab.
Somehow, I think that must have a limited amount of virtual interaction.
A lot of hands bitten, people. A lot of hands getting bitten there.
I do that anyway with sandwiches. I don't know what you're talking about. That's just that much more realism.
Right. Like I said, you don't want to see David or Greg eat.
Yeah. So
anyway, HoloLens VR.
Yeah.
To me, that was 10 out of 10.
Yeah, and they started releasing developer kits for that, which are currently going for about $3,000 a piece. So probably not something your average Joe is going to develop for. $3,000.
But now seriously,
and still cheaper than a Surface Pro.
Ouch.
Oh, sorry.
So what does VR give a student?
Yes, tying back to the edu portion of the EduTechGuys.
All right. So here's
you can experience things virtually.
Right.
But you're not really experiencing them.
Well, true, but by the same token, if I can virtually have a student, let's just start with something simple: dissect a frog.
Right.
All right.
Oh yeah.
Or bust open a cadaver. Right.
Get back to gaming.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe bust open is not the right. I don't know the medical terminology.
I'm pretty sure it's not bust open. Whatever it is.
Okay, kids, bust open that frog. Bust open that frog.
But my thinking is along the lines of this: if you let the students participate virtually, let them make whatever mistakes they're going to make at that point.
Running
and
the
then
walls
you can. I'm assuming they're sitting still,
right,
but who knows? Maybe they're running rampant while they're dismembering.
All I can see
cadavers.
is a Hot Pocket commercial. That's all I can see.
But I mean, those are the kinds of that's the way I see a lot of this virtual lab type stuff. It's a way to experiment and get some experience before actually putting your hands on and starting to cut open whatever.
Right. For things that are
dissecting,
that are intricate and three-dimensional and that sort of thing. Yeah, definitely I could see that. Probably not within the next 10 years. And to jump into it before that time, probably, I mean, heck, look at the educational apps we've got on iPads, which just came,
right.
They're still pretty lackluster
right.
in most regards.
Well, right, and there's a company, the folks, Daiquiri. The folks at Daiquiri who have an app called 4D Elements, which you get these little cubes and you hold the cubes in front of the iPad camera or iPhone camera, and it turns the cube into a virtual, let's say you're holding gold, then it turns into a virtual block of gold. All right, well, they've extended that, and now they actually have, I think it's called 4D Anatomy or 4D Human Body, or I think it's 4D Anatomy. And it's the same principle. They have cards that you put down, and when it reads the card, you see this 3D model of the human body.
Right.
And so you can manipulate that through the app. So I see the extension of that being along the lines of this HoloLens VR or some of the other VR-related stuff in terms of, okay, so we take kind of those two worlds and bring them together, so we're actually now I can manipulate.
Right.
I can manipulate things.
Boy,
so
that'll have some interesting implications for keeping students on task in the classroom. Now we can't even look over their shoulders to see if they're surfing the web. It's just all in the glasses over their eyes.
That's
exactly.
Right. That's right.
That will be interesting should that day ever come.
Okay, well, we beat around the bush long enough, so let's jump into the real meat of the subject.
I didn't know bushes had meat.
Trees have meat.
This is true.
Surface Book and Surface Pro 4.
Davis
the things you learn on EduTech.
We're not just pretty, we're smart. So yeah, let's. Why did it got a lull there? Surface Book, Surface Pro 4. Yes. The Surface Book, right off the bat. The hinge bothers me.
The hinge bothers Jeff.
Great specs. When I first tuned into the live
First, let's
blog,
talk about what it is, just in case people haven't had.
Well, let's get to the hinge. I'll just talk about it. So the Surface Book, when I logged into it, it is a laptop. It is a touchscreen device.
Yes.
But with a stylus, and with a good stylus. Not a bad stylus.
From what we hear, yeah.
From what we hear, it's a pretty decent, great stylus.
Stylus.
Interestingly enough, it gets 12 hours. That's one thing they tout. It's faster than the MacBook Pro. It's got an i7. Pro, I think the biggest top line of it comes with 16 gigs of memory and a 1 terabyte, solid state drive.
Yep.
It's got high-end graphics on the base,
right,
and lower performing graphics on the touchscreen that is removable.
Right.
Anything I'm leaving out? It's got a fingerprint scanner on the base.
Actually, no. That's actually the Surface Pro 4. We thought it was the TouchBook, but I checked on that.
The TouchBook doesn't. It's just the Surface. Okay.
It's just the Surface Pro 4 that has the touch.
It's somewhat lightweight. What's the weight on that thing?
The weight. Let's find out.
Right there. I think I saw it on your page.
Mm-hmm.
But
see if I can find that information.
Weight.
There it is. 3.34 pounds.
That's not bad.
That's with the keyboard with it.
Exterior is what? Magnesium?
I don't know if it's magnesium
it is.
or it is magnesium.
I figured they would probably stick with that. Microsoft's like magnesium.
Magnesium is an interesting material. I had an old tablet, pre iPad tablet that we had at Hope Public Schools. I think it was a ViewSonic tablet, and it had a magnesium case. It's very odd. It's a very lightweight metal. It almost feels like a plastic until you tap on it, and it has a metal sound to it. It's an interesting material.
Huh. Did I pretty much cover everything? It's got Windows 10 on it, Windows 10 Pro.
Right. The battery life we want to delve into.
Well, they kept saying 12 hours, 12 hours, 12 hours. Well, come to find out, it is 12 hours as long as you're attached to the
keyboard
base.
Yeah, the keyboard base has
the moment
batteries.
you take the touchpad off of it, you get 3 hours.
Right.
So it's not a unit you're going to buy, and on the weekend when you're packing a small bag to go off for the weekend, you're going to throw just the tablet in your bag and think you're going to be hunky-dory.
Right. Got to keep the keyboard with you.
If you want to charge it, you got to charge it into the base. So
that would make sense.
I don't think it comes with an external
That one we
charger.
haven't verified yet.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that. Also is the hinge, the snake hinge or whatever, snake-like hinge that they have.
Right. It's a multi-section hinge. It's almost kind of like a manila envelope that you put in like a file cabinet or whatever. It's got those
little ridges on
right.
it.
That's what it reminds me. That's what it reminds me of. That way when you overstuff it, it's actually got a bottom. It's exactly what it reminds me of.
That's funny. Yes, an expandable file.
Yes, exactly.
The expandable file hinge.
Yes, but the thing is, whenever you close the Surface Book Pro, or the Surface Book rather, the hinge leaves a gap between the screen and the keyboard. And so our first thought is, of course, you throw that in a bag, you're going to just stress the hinge really bad if you've got anything else in the bag that pushes against the machine. So that only time will tell whether or not that's an issue. Or
well, and then the other side of that is how many times do we have little whatevers, you could have whatever, pens, pencils,
right,
whatever.
Exactly.
You're going to end up sliding up in there, or
right.
They kind of get jammed, so the case lid sort of props open a little bit, but then you throw something else on it, and now you slam the case lid on a pencil.
On the flip side, if you leave a pencil on the keyboard, it might not be as bad, as we have seen several machines with shattered screens in Hope Public Schools. Somebody obviously left a pencil sitting on the keyboard and didn't realize it was there before they closed the lid.
That'll do it. That'll get you every time anyway.
So it's one of those things. It might be a big issue with reliability. It might be completely fine. Only time will tell.
The other thing that I've read about the Surface Book and the hinge and the base and the screen is that in order to detach the screen from the base, there's a button,
yes,
and you have to hold the button for 2 seconds or something before it finally says, okay, yes, you can detach.
Right.
So is it a mechanical thing that has to disengage?
It actually from what I've read or
does it pop
watched,
open the USB attachment?
It's similar to that. It's both logical and physical. You can't remove the top screen from the base until you've detached. You physically can't remove the top screen from the base.
I could remove it.
Well, okay. Without excessive force, one cannot remove the tablet portion from the keyboard.
Yeah, I hear you.
So it is a kind of mechanical lock.
I don't know if it's mechanical or if it's electromagnetic. I've heard conflicting things from different sources.
It's super secret Microsoft stuff.
It's magic. It's a bit of tacky. It's a bit of sticky tack stuck between the two.
Ticky tack, as the second grade teachers.
Yeah, and then the reason, of course, you have to do that is because there is the NVIDIA graphics chip, which offers more powerful graphics, is in the keyboard base. And so if you go yanking the secondary graphics card and the system was using it, I can only imagine that it's probably not pretty.
It would not be happy.
Yes.
I'm sure it would
Especially
not.
from what
Don't be yanking your
No, very bad. So it's from what I've read, I thought maybe whenever they were demoing it that maybe the graphics card was connected over the new USB-C with Thunderbolt 4 because the fourth generation of Thunderbolt, which is due to come out soon, supposedly now Intel will be certifying external graphics cards for use with Thunderbolt 4.
Somebody's doing that in Alienware.
Yeah, but it's not currently standardized. Yeah,
no, it's not standardized. No,
there's actually been a long history of external graphics cards, even back in the days whenever you remember those Express cards.
Yes. I do remember that.
There were people that would get Express card adapters that would go from Express card to like X4 PCI and put giant, enormous, graphics cards sitting on their desk with an external power supply and everything.
Yeah.
So this has a fairly long history of external removable graphics cards, but we're finally getting to the point with Thunderbolt 4 where Intel will actually be certifying external graphics cards for use with Thunderbolt.
That'll be cool.
So we will probably be seeing in the next couple of years actual like prepackaged. You don't have to run an ATX power supply with a dozen cables dangling all over your desk.
Yeah.
And that has some pretty serious benefits because then all of a sudden you can buy cheaper, lightweight laptops in schools and for that matter. And for anything that needs higher end graphics horsepower like video editing or big high-end Photoshop manipulation or what have you in a multimedia lab, for instance, you could have just the graphics card sitting on the table with like a power connector.
Yeah.
Students bring in their one-to-one laptops, hook up everything, and all of a sudden you don't have to have a whole lab filled with other machines that have to be separately maintained and that sort of thing. You can actually just have the students plug in, instantly get more graphical power, and just go to town.
That's very cool.
So I was thinking that maybe the Surface Pro was taking advantage of this technology. But unfortunately, it doesn't appear that that's the case. It looks like it's something proprietary. Whenever they take off the screen, the little connector between the screen and the keyboard actually looks like it might be a pin-for-pin PCI Express X8 like connector, or at the very least a miniaturized version of it. It is reversible, so you can flip the screen and connect it in either direction.
And I think that's a very good point in terms of that a lot of times where you see these laptops, convertibles, whatever you want to call them, the screen just folds back, and this is not that way.
Right.
The Surface Book, you actually have to disengage the screen, turn it around, reconnect it, and then fold it closed, and then you can use you could still have that keyboard base behind it.
Right.
But you can't just flip it open. It's not going to do yoga.
Right, exactly. Although that kind of setup has always kind of disturbed me because then you've got the keys sitting right against your lap. I'm always like concerned that I'd like scrape the keys off the bottom of the keyboard. So the fact that it flips over and then lays across the keyboard, it is a little bit more trouble because you have to go through the 2-second disconnect and flip it around and reconnect it and then lay it flat. But on the other hand, at least you don't have the keys just sitting up against your lap or whatever.
Yeah. Right, and I don't know. I'm old school enough to be. I'm like, it's 2 seconds.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Come on,
it's going to space.
Really.
We can forget.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't have time for that.
You got ones and zeros floating all around you through your Wi-Fi, and you can't wait 2
seconds to disconnect. Exactly.
Disconnect your screen.
Something interesting that's happened though. Being a musician also, we look for notation all the time, a new notation device or something to use for it. Well, Staff End, is that the name of it? Staff End. There's a company that made a beautiful notation software just for the Surface.
Really?
And it was one of those, write a measure by hand, and by the time you go to the next measure, it's, it
right.
writes
It interprets your handwritten.
Pretty nice stuff. And on their blog, people were asking, why didn't you do it for the iPad? And they stated, well, the iPad did not have the input device yet for that.
Right, didn't have a pencil.
But so it's really funny. What I think will be interesting to see is, and I'm just throwing in an Apple thing here, is, the people that have been writing strictly for Surface, and there are some folks that write stuff strictly for Surface
for Windows,
because it has
the
a
pencil,
stylus.
Right.
Yeah. I think with the iPad Pro, we'll start to see some of that now go cross-platform there, and vice versa.
Yeah, we're getting to the point where Android, iOS, OS X, Windows, there's no longer a killer feature to any. Whenever the iPad first came out, there was like nothing else. It was the touch device, period. Whenever iOS came out, before Android came onto the scene, it was the touch thing. Now we're getting to the point where everybody's almost at feature parity. You know, they implement it in slightly different ways, and you might prefer one or the other. But at this point, we're getting down to the point where it's like, okay, you have the stylus, and I have a pencil. Oh wow, what difference? You know,
still, you know.
It's all coming down to the implementation, the fine details, and what works best for the way you use something, not necessarily what you need in order to make it work. Because we're getting to the point where it's just you can pick anything.
Right.
One thing about the stylus on the new Surface Book and Surface Pro 4 is it does have more pressure sensitivity now on the Surface Pro 4. I think before it only had 512 levels of pressure sensitivity. Now we're up to 1,000 some odd. And it is confirmed that on the Surface Book it does have a removable tip on the stylus, which is important for anybody who's ever used a Wacom, which apparently is the correct pronunciation, I was told. It's not Wacom. I've been pronouncing it Wacom all this time.
I always thought it was Wacom too.
Right, exactly. And
I guess it's Wacom.
Right.
I've been calling it high advanced technology.
Righty thing.
The righty thing. But yeah, anyone who's ever used one of those for a long period of time knows that if you use it for a fair amount of stuff, the nib wears down to it's like nothing.
Yeah.
My mother is an artist, and she does a lot of digital artwork, and she chews through nibs like just nobody's business, you know. So the fact that it has a replaceable nib is actually significant.
Could you get different types of?
Yes, you can also get different
textures, and different, you know,
and that's
like
also
one's
something
harder
else.
And one's softer.
Right, that's also something else that's very handy. I've used various Wacoms over the years, and I would often swap out the tip because I preferred a felt tip instead of the standard plastic tip.
Sure.
And that's something that we haven't heard one way or the other on the iPad Pro, whether or not the tip is replaceable. Is it going to wear down?
Right.
Is that something that we're going to have to worry about? You know, so that's something interesting to see whenever the iPad Pro comes out here in another month or so. And then the battery life of the pen. Didn't they say that it was like a year long?
Or something?
Yeah.
12-month battery life on the
a year-long battery.
I was reading something earlier today about the stylus, and evidently it's got a button on the side that if you are away from the surface of the surface. I just realized what that sounded like.
The surface.
If you're nowhere near the actual surface, but if you've pulled away from it and you hit the button, it actually brings up Cortana. So you can actually call up Cortana straight from the stylus as you're working on stuff, which I thought that was kind of an interesting. I'm not exactly sure what the application of that is, but I thought it was a neat feature. Anyway.
Yeah, and I do. Although I did hear that they used to have 2 buttons on the stylus on the previous versions of the Surface, so it's apparently been cut down. Although the second button was supposedly just the eraser function, and now it actually has a real eraser. So they've shuffled stuff around on the stylus. What else do we have to talk about?
It's kind of like those, like you've seen the different computer mice for gaming. That have like the 52 buttons.
Yes, exactly.
You know,
it's like
at some point somebody goes, I don't think we need this many buttons.
Yeah, there was one that had it looked like a number pad where your thumb was, and I was just like, I would rest my hand on the mouse and engage 27 things that I did not intend.
Exactly. All right, so.
Well, let's. Hey, I tell you what, you're listening to radio.edutechguys.com. We're talking Microsoft and all their new hardware that's coupled with their Windows 10 software, which is going to be 110 million users. So we're going to take a quick break real quick, take a listen to one of our former musicians that's back, has a new couple of recordings coming out next week, so we thought we'd just prime the water while the guys and I take a look at some more stuff on the Surface Pro 4, coming back with some things on some Kickstarter elements in STEM and EduCal. You're listening to radio.edutechguys.com. What? Hey, welcome back to EduTechGuys. Sorry about that little bit of silence at the first. I forgot to hit play. It was like 3 seconds.
It works better when you hit the play button.
Well, you know.
That's what they say. I hear that story all the time. We're back. We've been talking about Microsoft's new hardware that came out. We just started talking about the Surface Book. I don't think we're fans because of the battery life would probably be the one, the hinge. Those two things, you know. I'm not negative against it, but
well, okay.
And then of course we forgot to mention price, which is the big one.
If there was anything that I'm anti Surface Book,
the price
is price for me. I mean, I'd even take the hinge, but the price to me seems like it's a little out of whack. Now, other people are saying that they think it hits it on the mark, but
I think it depends on whether or not you're thinking about this as a tablet or like you're thinking about it like a laptop. You know, being halfway between the two, some people approach it and go, man, that's real expensive for a tablet with a keyboard. And then other people go, man, that's pretty cheap for a laptop. You know, so it starts at $1,500, which is not cheap by any stretch of the imagination.
Not for a laptop nor for a tablet. So, you know, kind of like, it's not cheap either way.
Right, exactly,
Frankly, that's kind of Apple pricing.
Which is probably why they stacked it up against the MacBook in the keynote. They were constantly comparing it against the MacBook because, of course, it's targeted as a premium device.
Sure,
I agree.
And one thing about the fact that it is a Microsoft-owned piece of hardware is it does take out of the equation the main thing that I think that we have complaints against PCs most of the time is the fact that whenever you get a new PC, it comes loaded down with all this bonus software, quote unquote, that you spend 2 hours uninstalling as soon as you take the machine out of the box.
Well, yeah, but you don't think Microsoft's going to do the same thing?
No, they haven't with the Surface line. That's been one of the main draws to the Microsoft hardware is the fact that they don't have all this value-added, quote unquote, software to go with it.
Well, and then the other side of that, in addition to not having value-added software, the issue where if you have Microsoft designing the software that is going on Microsoft designed hardware,
right?
You've just taken out all the third-party OEMs.
You're right, exactly. All the driver weirdness, all the it's that's one of the reasons why I personally like Apple hardware because the software is designed to work with the hardware, so you can have a certain level of expectation where this ought to work and not do weird, crazy things whenever you tip it 15 degrees sideways, you know. So
yeah, we've completely. So they also released the Surface Pro 4,
right?
Which its specs are pretty nice. I mean, you know, for a Surface,
that's the one that one actually starts at like $899.
Yep,
is that the one?
$899.
Yeah, and it's it's got Windows 10 on it also.
Yep.
It's just not as souped up as the book.
Right.
It also uses the same stylus, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't it?
I believe so.
Now that one is actually marketed as a tablet.
Right.
Yeah. Right. That is a tablet with a keyboard versus a laptop you can take apart.
Yeah, as I heard someone explain to me or mention or describe is these being convertible devices where you can use it either way. Some of them are tablet-first convertibles, and some of them are laptop-first convertibles. The Surface Book is a laptop-first convertible. It intends to be a laptop that you can turn into a tablet, obviously, if you look at the battery life, and all of a sudden you go from 12 to 4.
Yeah.
And then you've got the tablet-first convertibles, which are like a tablet with a nice keyboard that you can, it's running a desktop or laptop operating system, running actual Windows 10. So, yeah, the Surface Pro 4 is a tablet-first convertible.
Gotcha. Okay.
And yeah, it has an M3 i5 or i7 processor. You can get memory anywhere from 4 to 16 gigs. It could be a decent laptop, or convertible tablet, whatever term you wish to employ. And it actually has a decent battery life that it says it's got 9 hours of video playback, and you don't have to worry about disconnecting the keyboard and suddenly going down to a third of that.
Right, yes.
So,
cool. All right.
Yeah, that's the Surface Pro 4. It's much like this. It's more of an evolution of the Surface Pro 3. It's not quite as quote unquote revolutionary as the Surface Book. Everybody lost their minds with the Surface Book, and then sort of just swept the Surface Pro under the carpet. It's like, yeah, it's the Surface Pro 4. Yeah, just one of those.
That's right. Gotcha. All right. Cool.
Hey, I think it'll probably wrap up our Microsoft segment of the year. Talk about Microsoft again. I can't believe you guys. No. Hey, there's some great stuff out there. One that we want to jump on real quick before we get off the air today is edusync.com. Take a look at them. They are edusync.com. Really neat company. I think I got in touch with them on Twitter. I think that's how they found me and I found them. And I have to tell you, I was quite impressed with what they're offering, because they're tying into Google in a way that is pretty hardcore. So TeacherCal is their freebie. So what it does is it lets you automatically organize your Google Drive. It creates docs right from your calendar. It has a Google Classroom share built into that creation, so that when you create a doc from your calendar, you're sharing it, and they're constantly developing it
so it's
as they move forward.
It's kind of like what we mentioned earlier with workflow, where it's an automated way to, sure, you could do all this stuff separately, but you can start creating something from your calendar and it puts it on all these other Google services, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And this is these are all teachers. This is designed by teachers
for teachers.
Yeah, it's really hardcore. I think the part that's really cool is since you can actually create Google Docs right from your calendar, comes in real handy with Google Classroom. But what it does is it automatically organizes your content into folders in Google Drive as it's doing it.
Oh, nice.
So it's pretty much it's doing the whole thing for you.
Right. It's not just dumping it at the top layer.
And since it syncs with Google Calendar, that's a really big deal. Now, the other thing that they're doing that's really pretty cool is EduCal. EduCal, EDDY Cal, CAL.
EduCal,
yeah. It's what's cool is it's taking out the paper planner. It's building an iOS app, web-based and mobile app. I think they're doing Android also, for students that ties to all their courses that they have in Google Classroom. Therefore, also populating and telling them, hey, don't forget you've got a test tomorrow. You have a quiz due today. And it gives the parents the ability to also download the app and see that, hey, David has a test tomorrow. And so it's watching Google Classroom for parents and students and keeping them updated. The company's actually offering a pilot right now for the 15-16 school year, which is now. They hope to release sometime in the next few weeks or months, right here before Christmas in the fall.
Is it going to be free or is it
pricing? It's a free pilot, and I don't know about
their full.
They got to make money for their development.
Oh yeah.
So I'm wondering, the TeacherCal is out there. The TeacherCal is a freebie. That one's free. I believe. Yeah, there it is. Talk about pre-ordering EduCal for a discounted price for the 16-17 school year. If you go to their website, it's a nice, clean website with very easy to understand navigational stuff, and you can find everything you're looking for right there. So, really take a good look at them. I think you'll think they're pretty neat.
That's cool. That's a very cool find. That's neat. I'm just kind of poking through the site now and checking out some of the screenshots and the screenshots of the app itself. It looks like it's a very clean, straightforward. Here's what's due. Here's what's coming up.
No 47 menus. No 16-layer deep configuration.
That's very cool.
Well, I like it. It says students sign in with Google and enter codes to follow their courses. Teachers plan on TeacherCal, and all of their plans automatically populate to the students' EduCal planners.
Awesome. Yeah, that simple onboarding where you just have to enter a code, that's a super big plus because, man, some educational applications don't take onboarding into account at all. It's like, oh yeah, you upload, you get a CSV, you can format it exactly this way, and if there's like any extra columns or anything, it goes crazy. Onboarding's a big deal.
Yeah.
I agree. Cool. And you're right, the graphics are real nice. You see where it says classes, it's just straightforward. There's no screwing it up, right? So
we could screw it up.
We're talented like that.
Are we?
We are.
Another one that we're looking at right now is I lost my place.
You done lost your tab.
I found it. My STEM Kits. I want to take a look at this one. They're doing a fundraiser, Kickstarter right now. In fact, I think that's right. Yeah, they're doing a Kickstarter. They do 3D printing for K-12 education, and what they're doing is they're developing 3D printable manipulators for K-12 STEM education. And then but the cool part is they've got that, but they're backing it with curriculum. They're going, here's all these great manipulatives you can print with your 3D printer, but now here's the curriculum to go along with it. Pretty cool. They're raising a $5,000 goal. It's got 47 hours to go. They've got 63 backers, and they've got $2,741. So if you're out there listening or follow us on Twitter, you might want to drop them $1 or $2.
What kind of manipulatives are there? I mean, the last time I used manipulatives, I was in kindergarten, so it's been a while.
Yeah, it's cool. They got a pencil quadrant kit. They have a thing called Hover Puck. I don't know what that is. That's
Hover Puck.
They have on their Kickstarter. You can see they have a whole homeschool classroom kit, which is really nice.
So it's like hands-on sort of.
It's a pencil quadrant kit, Hover Puck meter stick quadrant kit, measuring precision, chromosomes kit. Again, it includes the pencils, rubber bands, binder clips, and screws. The cool part is you have 600 print credits for their online portal, so you can print.
So you have them print it and it ships it to you.
But you can also purchase your own 3D printer and print.
They're making the plans available.
They're making their plans. There's the kit library that they're showing all the cool kits you can download and print. For homeschooling, that's great. I mean, it looks like a very cost-effective way to get in the door with it.
Yeah, depending on whether or not you already have a 3D printer or not, those can get kind of pricey.
Yeah, and I noticed that on their website, their website actually has a great list. If you'll go to MyStemKits, MyStemKits.com, you'll also see that what's really cool about it is they show all the printers that they currently work with. They have a supported printer list that's already there, and it looks like when it was populating a minute ago, it looks like most of the ones that you see out there you can buy from Amazon and places like that.
Replicator.
And there's some great stuff on there. So they didn't know we were talking about them today. I found them, and I thought it was pretty cool. I knew they were raising money, and I always like to find people that are reasonable. I mean, here's a company, MyStemKits.com. I'm pretty sure it started by a teacher. Always is,
Usually, yeah.
And they're raising $5,000.
Yeah, $5,000
let's help them raise $5,000. That's
right, exactly.
To get some stuff out there for especially for STEM. Hey, I'll tell you what we're going to do real quick. We're going to take another little break and listen to our AESA promo. David and I will be in, where is that? New Orleans.
North
Dakota. We'll be in New Orleans.
Not North Dakota.
We'll be in New Orleans in December at the AESA conference. I hope to see some of you there. But take a quick 30-second break and let's hear some AESA good stuff.
Join EduTechGuys live from the 30th Annual AESA Conference in New Orleans, December 2nd through the 5th. We'll be providing day-by-day coverage as we talk with presenters, attendees, and members of education service agencies from around the nation. Get rid of the noise and listen to the music with EduTechGuys Live, December 2nd through the 5th. Brought to you by Southwest Arkansas Education Cooperative, Hope Public Schools, and the Association of Education Service Agencies.
Hey, welcome back to radio.edutechguys.com. We're having a good time here. We've been talking. It's been a big day.
Wicked awesome.
But we've talked about a bunch of stuff today.
Mostly Microsoft.
But
by the same token, though, I mean, it's been kind of a
So just
whirlwind.
to wrap up the Microsoft, again, coming back full circle to the edu portion of the EduTech Guys, what do you think the educational impact of the Surface Book and the Surface Pro 4? Is this something that you would advise people going for? If so, in what area? Why it over, say, an iPad or a Chromebook or an Android tablet, for that matter? What do you guys think in that area? What's the educational impact?
My initial gut reaction is the same impact as, say, an iPad Pro. That is, it's going to be
a limited deployment. Sort of a targeted deployment for these.
Targeted, yeah.
Right.
Certain subject areas, certain disciplines. If you're already a Microsoft environment and you would love to stay that way, I think the new Pro 4 and the new Surface Book could potentially be a way to go. Again, we're talking education, so cost could be an issue.
Yeah.
But I see very similar applications in the classroom that you would find with really any of the other alternatives that are out there.
Right.
So I think if you're a Microsoft shop and you want to stay in Microsoft shop, this gives you an easy path to maintain that.
Right. That is a good point. The fact that they can be managed by Active Directory and that sort of thing. You don't have to add an MDM, or you don't have to purchase licensing through Google Apps or that sort of thing. You don't even have to set up Google Apps if you've already got an Exchange server, that sort of thing. Yeah, the administrative overhead is lower. The getting in the door. Aside from that, there's the cost. I think one of the things that potentially gives me hesitation is the fact that, like an iPad deployment, we've only had one change out essentially of the support equipment related to the iPad so far over our deployment, where they've only changed the port essentially from the 30 pin to the lightning connector. So one thing we see a lot of is, okay, you've populated this cart, and all of a sudden we swap out all of the iPads for a newer generation. And for laptop carts, for going to historically what we deployed in the past, anytime you change out the laptops, it's like, okay, they're a different size, they don't fit in the cart anymore.
Right.
They don't. The third-party battery pack that we got to make them last, it doesn't connect to the new one.
Sure.
The power connector is not the same. So the one thing that I kind of hesitate for is, okay, is Microsoft going to stay with like the same power connector? Is it going to be the same form factor? Right. Is it going to be anything like this 3 years from now, whenever we have to buy some extras or even do a full refresh? How much consistency can we rely on? Because that's one thing that we've really come to value with our iPad deployments, the fact that it's consistent.
Sure. That's a very valid point. Very good point.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we have one last thing to talk about here. In the state of Arkansas, we've started using the Rave Panic button feature from what's the name of the company? 911. It's a different name of the company.
It does have a different name.
But the Rave Panic button, one of the problems we had here in the state was people pushing the button.
Accidentally, yes.
Well, or on purpose, just like, hey, it's a button that says, active shooter. Anyway, so why would you push the button that says active shooter? Maybe they thought it was a game. That's it. They thought, hey, I'm the active shooter.
No.
I don't know, it's a game. Anyway, so that was a big problem because it immediately, the moment you pushed it, it would dial 911 and to let them alert that there was an active shooter. So now the company has put a press and hold accidental activation piece in it. What's it to actually do?
So what happens now is when the user gets to that screen, and if you've not seen the screen, just a real quick, there are 5 buttons on the screen. One is for active shooter, one's for fire, one's called the police, one's for an ambulance, and I can't remember what the other one is. And before you just hit the button and as you said, it dials. Now you have to actually hold your finger for a second and a half, which is not that long. Again, the whole 2-second thing. Although if there was somebody shooting at you, you might not think
that's an awfully long time. Yeah.
But so anyway, you got to hold your finger on the button for 2 seconds, and then during that time, the screen kind of does a clockwise swipe. When the screen is grayed out, it plays quote unquote a tone. We don't know what that tone is at this point. Plays a tone, and then that confirms and sends off.
Let the dogs
That's my
seriously doubt it.
If you're hiding from an active shooter, the last thing you want is your phone going, bing, your call to 911 has been confirmed. Thanks.
Right, exactly.
Bang, bang. Right. But anyway, so that, and there were a couple of other minor updates and some things that folks are still working through.
Cool.
It is what it is.
Hey, remember, anytime you want to listen to us, you can head over to iTunes, go to the podcast section, and look up EduTechGuys, and you'll find us there. All episodes are there through the old iTunes podcast store. You can also listen to us online from our website, or you can go to mixler.com/EduTechGuys, which is who we use to do the show each and every week. And good times. I tell you what, you can catch us next week.
Yeah.
If you're live in Minneapolis, like you're listening to us now, you can come by the Guthrie Theater, catch us up there.
Dead in Minneapolis.
So come by and check us out. Definitely listen to us. We'll be coming to you hopefully from the 9th floor from the Amber Room, which is the big glass room
with big
on the top there.
Orange windows.
We'll definitely be coming to you from Minneapolis. That's the truth.
That's going to be cool.
It could be the bridge outside over the Mississippi, but we'll definitely be coming to you.
We'll be coming to you live from JNUC.
JNUC. So if you don't know about Jamf Software, take a look at them. Jamf Software, JAMFSOFTWARE.com. I don't know why I spell everything out, just because I sometimes don't know how to spell myself. So always testing myself. Hey, you've been listening to radio.edutechguys.com. Been a fun show. The guys love it when I just jump into a completely different area here. But I'm trying to keep us on target. We're 1 minute and 38 seconds over our hour time limit.
No good. Cut it off.
Hey, I'm Jeff Madlock.
I'm Greg Moore.
And I'm David Henderson. Thanks for listening. You've been listening to EduTech Guys Radio, radio.edutechguys.com.
The opinions expressed on this site and its programs are those of participants and not intended to and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any specific educational entity, sponsor, company, state, or government agency.